Hi, I'm Anthony from Sydney Backyard Veggies. We're in the start of the new year now, and it's been spending the last few weeks with family during the Christmas break. Now back in the garden, still working through a lot of my summer veggies and planting a lot of late season summer crops, but actually starting to also start planning for my autumn plantings. So in today's video, I'm going to show you where my veggie garden is at this stage and what I'm planning to do in my garden over the next few weeks. I'm going to be going through what I've been doing over the Christmas break in my garden up to the week ending the 5th of January. January in my garden means it's time for me to plant out my late season tomatoes, and during the week I did just that. I have pulled out my first planting of tomato that was in this patch, in this location, and I planted out my second planting, and this is a indeterminate Roma variety called Tala. I planted 14 plants across the bed, and I planted them out at 6 centimeter spaces between the rows, and in the rows at 40 centimeter spacings. Now the weather's been quite hot over the last few days, so they are starting looking a bit worse for the wear, but I'm hoping that they should bounce back quite quickly. When I did plant them out, the previous crop that I had in this spot had been quite past their use by date. They'd been smashed up by the spider mites, and fruit flies were starting to show up in the fruit, so it was time to move them on. In preparing the bed, I added a couple of bags of chicken manure and a little bit of dolomite lime, and then I dug that through and then formed up the rows with the hoe. And now that they're planted out, I'm gonna let them settle in for a few days. They're just not looking as ideal as I'd like. They've been getting a little bit of a slight transplant shock, mostly because of the heat, but they should bounce back really well. I will have to add a little bit of Epsom salt potentially towards the end of the week, and hopefully by adding that they should do well. Hoping to harvest these in April, and the reason why I do like to plant a late season planting of tomatoes is to get around those fruit flies. Fruit flies just started showing up just last week, some of the fruit, and by planting out the second plant of tomatoes now, I'll be harvesting in late March, April. At that point, the fruit won't have been impacted by fruit flies. It's usually between December to late February. And with that, my second plant of tomatoes, still left them on a bit, and I'm not going to be pulling them out this week. Might be pulling them out towards the end of the week, because there's still a lot of nice fruit showing here and still trying to ripen, but a lot of this damage here is spider mites, and you can just see the extent of the damage that's gone through. But it is what it is. Wanted to move them on. And next to that, the capsicums have been doing great guns, and in my previous video I added a bigger net for the plants to help them grow, because they're actually putting on a lot of size, and the plants are looking really good. There's actually a lot of second flush coming through the capsicums. I've actually harvested most of the first flush, which was down at low level, and I got a lot of nice yellow fruit out of it, but the second flush is coming along really well. You can just see plants and fruit all the way up. They do need a little bit of staking. Stuff like that needs to be staked up, but it's got such heavy fruit coming through. I did have an issue with aphids earlier on, and I gave them a spray, and it's all been cleared up now. Besides that, looking really good. The big star in my garden at the moment is my sweet corn, and this is that second planting that I planted. I believe I planted it in early November. I just have to check my records on that, but it is looking amazing. It's definitely over 2 meters tall, as you can just see that. Full of ears. I've got 2 good ears per plant, and I've got that across all of it as you go through the row. The key here was a lot of nitrogen. Added a lot of sulfate of ammonia to these plants, and they've responded amazingly. I'm going to be harvesting these, starting to harvest these next week. I find that from the moment the tassels form to the moment you harvest, it's about 3 weeks, 18 to 21 days. So you just count back from then, and then just check the ears progressively, see how they are forming, and then I'll start harvesting them. I'm still having a lot of problems with caterpillars, and I am actually just noticed this today, having a little bit of problems with aphids, as you can see right there. I have a little bit of, which is good to see, predator ladybirds coming to eat them, but I might give them a light spray of pyrethrum as a contact spray just to deal with those aphids. There's still time in the season to plant more corn, but time is fast running out, so I did get a planting of corn in during the week, and this is a planting of 20 plants. This is planted in the space of the old cucumber and bean patch that I came through during the week and ripped out. Planted 20 plants here, 4 rows of 5 at 60 centimeter spaces in the rows, and the plants 25 to 30 centimeter spacings within the row. Added again cow manure, a lot of chicken manure pellets, and a little bit of dolomite lime to the bed, and dug it all in and formed these rows. The variety here is called Senator, and started these seedlings off at about 2.5 weeks ago, and got them planted out. Hoping to harvest these in early April, late March, and that'll make it perfect timing for me to move these bed on and start planting cool season crops, brassicas and lettuces and the like. I have come through yesterday and pulled out the stewing bean patch. I did a final harvest of those yesterday afternoon, collected that and pulled them out. I'll be looking at direct seeding another 3 rows of sweet corn in this location, and hopefully that could be my last planting, and that way I've actually staged the planting through here. So the first planting will be about 2 weeks before the second one. It just gives us time to be able to work through that harvest. We're getting them in this weekend, so in about 7 days time, and once they're planted in, hopefully they'll be germinating in about 5 days. Over at my main patch, and my bean plantings are still thriving, and here in my back part of the main bed I've got my Bolotti beans and my French beans Jackson there in the back. This variety is Red Rooster. These were planted in October, and they're just starting to color in that red color. And what I am looking for when I come to harvest these, I'm looking for them to start going a bit white, losing their green color. And this here was probably, say, about a week or 2 off from being harvested, but essentially what I want is the whole bed to turn that color, and you will see progressively the pods will start going a lighter green and then eventually go white. So expecting this to be ready to harvest in about late January, early Feb, so that first week in February. The risk I'm running with at the moment is that if we get a lot more rain, the pods could potentially start rotting, and even get the seed within the pods start germinating. So hopefully the rain holds off, but looking at it, there's plenty of beans, as you can just see, looking really really healthy, good crop. I'm hoping that it is a successful pot. I want to get at least 1.5 to 2 kilos worth of beans, shelled beans, from this area. And over at the Jackson bean planting, they've just started flowering, and they actually are starting to put out beans. These will be ready to harvest in about a 1.5 weeks time. We've got plenty coming in here. They seem to be doing a lot better because they are in the shade of the trees, but they are slower growing. So having them in the shade protects them from the harsh western sun that I have in my patch, but at the same time slows their growth a bit. But looking quite good. Plenty of flowers, which is really nice. Usually I plant jade, but in this spot I planted Jackson, which is another great variety that you can find in most online stores. After I planted out that Jackson variety beans, I did get some new jade bush beans seeds and did plant them out here, and they're looking great, starting to flower. So I'll be able to do a bit of a comparison once these are ready to harvest. I'll show you what they look like against the Jackson, and then bringing it over to my basil. Basil's been really good this year, again in the back of the shade of the mango tree, but you can't really beat the harsh sun. So these plants got a little bit of sunburn, and the other plants seem to be doing okay. Been harvesting a lot of basil over the last week or last few weeks. Every 2 weeks I come do a big harvest and been making it into pesto. Key is, I find, planting them in some shaded area where you're not getting the full brunt of the sun. A lot of nitrogen fertilizer. I firstly apply that after I've harvested it, and plenty of water. All these plants are on irrigation. With the eggplant, as you can see, I was struggling a little bit with spider mites earlier in the season, but now with the treatments that I've been using, I've been wettable sulfur specifically, the new leaves are a lot more green, and as a result the plants are looking, the fruit's looking really good. That there is just a sign of spider mite damage earlier in the piece, that little scarring that you see there. So if you do see a lot of that scarring, it's just a sign that you did have, or you are having, to deal with spider mites. Still doing really well, but they do need to be a little bit more staked. I've been coming through just pruning off a lot of those older leaves just to clear them up. But yeah, I've been harvesting a couple of kilos weekly, so mum's been making those into Lebanese stews and the like, so she's been working through that glut for me. In my garden, it's all about summer fruits at the moment, and the big one that's a real excitement for us is figs. And I've got my fig tree with my netting all over it at the moment, and it's been an absolute nightmare trying to control the crows, the ravens, and the Indian miners from getting to the fruit. And I finally think I've resolved that. For a while they were eating the fruit through the netting, as you can just see there, the netting touches the fruit. So I've been trying to progressively try to push this netting away so that the birds cannot get to it, and I think it's worked the trick. I went and been harvesting good handfuls of fruit daily, but with this rain I'm hoping it doesn't destroy the fruit. Figs don't like be getting wet. It really dilutes the sugars in the harvest, but if you ever get the chance to try properly ripened figs that on a tree, be able to harvest it fresh and ripe, it is actually an absolute dream, and I'm really excited about this. The persimmon as well is looking laden with fruit, starting to color a bit. I'm actually anxious. I'm going to get a bit of fruit fly on it, and I'm thinking about putting some netting, but it might be a bit too late in the season. I need to support this a lot more, but yeah, it's still got a lot of fruit, and I'm hoping to be harvesting these plants, these fruits, in about 4 to 6 weeks time. And then finally my mango, looking it's also got a lot of fruit, a lot of small fruit, but a lot of big fruit. I'm seeing, just noticing today, some of the fruit's splitting, and I'm thinking that's because of the water. Might be getting too much water, but it's got a lot of fruit around, and I'm thinking I might have to start netting this as well to stop the fruit bats from getting to the plant. So probably at the start of Feb I'll try to throw some netting around that. So now that we're moving into late summer, it's time to start planning for my autumn and winter gardens. So this week I started off my seedlings, my brassica seedlings. Specifically, I've started off my broccoli, cauliflower, my cos lettuce seedlings, and some pak choi seedlings. They need to be ready to, I'm starting them off now because I'd like to plant out these seedlings just after Australia Day, 26th of just January. For my broccoli seedlings, I'm starting off Aurora, which is a warm season broccoli variety. I'm starting Serenity for my cauliflower seedlings. I'm also started some cos lettuce seedlings, which I grew in early spring. And I'm also starting a couple of punnets of Jo Choi, pak choi seedlings, which I will interplant within the broccolis and cauliflower. For my direct seeded plants, I'll be planting more beans. I'll be planting one final round of bush beans, another planting of jade bush beans, and I'll plant them out as my final planting about next week. Or we'll also be doing 2 final plantings of cucumbers. I'll be planting one in the location of the cherry tomatoes, and I'll be planting another round where I've got my Farah tomatoes, which I'll be pulling out next week. And as we move into autumn, I will start thinking about my peas and sugar snap pea plantings, looking at start planting a lot of my lettuce and salad greens, my rocket plantings. I'll be looking at trying to plant a few fennel, a little bit of carrots, more carrots this year, but also planting more of my other brassicas, my cabbages and my wombok. So as I go through the weeks leading up into autumn, I will keep you posted on what I'm going to be starting up and when. But besides that, I just want to thank everyone for watching my videos. I hope you get a lot out of it. I do enjoy putting these videos together, just a bit of a record of what I've been doing in my garden, and I hope you do get a few tips and pointers out of it. If you do have any questions or do you want to ask, reach out to me, please feel free to leave me a comment on this video, or better still, message me on my socials via Instagram or TikTok, and I will be able to get back to you through your comments. Thank you very much everyone for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.